Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Hello, and welcome to a new week of Date Forever. In this week's episode, we're chatting about the 6 human needs and understanding your top 2, how we can meet these needs in healthy and unhealthy ways, and understanding our different maps of the world. But before we get into that, Sammy, what's been fueling you up this week?
I had a really good work week last week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I had a quarterly planning day with Dan.
Yeah.
Who I work with. He's the coach or the EOS implementer that I work with. And we had locked away a whole day to do a full day of quarterly planning. We do this every 90 days.
Yep.
And we had knocked over the entire agenda by lunchtime.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and we set some really good goals. We've got really good synergy. That sounds like such a buzzword, but yeah, we're vibing. Like the things that we both thought were priority, we both thought they were priority, the projects for the next quarter. So yeah, I had a really good work week, just tying off the end of last quarter and kicking off into this one.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it feels good. What about you? What fueled you up this week?
So the investments that we've made recently have fueled me up this week.
Oh,
yeah. So I think I talked about it a while ago on the podcast that I was we were making our first investments, and I don't know, we just had a little bit of progress this week, and I'll probably do the worst thing ever, which is check them like multiple times a day, like every single day, which is like the number one no-no for investments if you try to keep them for a long time, which we are.
That's the high fact finder in you, hey?
Oh, it is. And the thing is, like, I check them every single day, I check them multiple times a day and do nothing with them. And that's the whole intent behind it. So at least I'm not undoing all our good work.
You're not panicking anytime you open the app.
No, not panicking. But yeah, so 4 out of the 5 companies we've invested in are well and truly up, which is great. We've only got one which is down at the moment, but I still have long-term faith for it. So okay. Yeah.
So what is it about this that's fueling you up? The actual success of the investments? Or?
Yeah, a little bit of the success, but also just the understanding that it's kind of building long-term future wealth for us as well, and that we've actually, being a bit proactive about the future and not just living in today.
I've clearly been feeding my TikTok algorithm the wrong thing because I keep getting things that keep freaking me out about the fact that we're in our early 30s, and I sometimes feel like we're just so far behind in terms of
not yet invested millions
hundreds and thousands of dollars. Yeah. And we live in one of the most expensive places in Australia, and we don't own the home that we live in and all that sort of stuff. But it does feel good that we're taking steps.
Yeah. And you've got to start somewhere. That's it. So yeah, we're taking steps. Yeah. Moving forward.
Yeah. We spent our 20s traveling.
Yeah.
And
now we can't. So we decided to do something else with that money.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good fuel up there.
It is great. But now let's introduce this week's guest.
Today we're welcoming Sonya Furlong. She's a life coach, therapist, and trainer of NLP and Matrix Therapies. She's the founder of the Center for Life Therapies, which is a hub for personal healing and development. Sonya is married to her soulmate, Kerry, and the majority of her clients come to her for relationship coaching. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sammy and Nathan. It's great to be here.
No worries. It's great to have you on the show.
So your soulmate, tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Yes, we feel very destined to meet because we met on the 11th of the 11th, 2011.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if you...
soulmate number.
Yeah, the whole 11:11.
Yeah.
We feel pretty sure we had our first kiss at 11:11 p.m.
Carry on top of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been together pretty much ever since that day. He gave me the key to his apartment 10 days into the relationship.
Oh, wow.
We married about 2 years later, just under 2 years later. And it's almost been 10 years now. So it's been wonderful.
Oh, incredible.
Wow. So there's, over that decade, I'm assuming there's been a few different chapters or seasons to the relationship.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Well, we sort of joke that, we're still in the honeymoon phase. That it's still, 10 years in, it's still
That's
going
a good place
strong.
to be.
It is a good place to be. Yeah, when people go, it only lasts 2 years, we're just like, what are they talking about? We don't know what they're talking about.
We feel like that too.
Isn't that nice? It's beautiful, isn't it? It's so lovely when you find the right person. It makes it very easy when it's the right person.
Yeah. I don't know if you come across this, but I think when people find out that Nathan and I have a lot of conversations about relationships, neither of us are therapists or coaches or psychologists or anything like that, but we just have a lot of these conversations. Do people assume that you have a perfect relationship?
Probably. Lucky I do then. It's like, yeah, it's nice to walk the talk. And when I'm coaching my clients, I'm coming from a place of someone who has long-term relationships. So like I was married before and married for 20 years and we're still friends, and now 10 years with Kerry. So, it's good to have that experience. And when people will say, I've spoken to all my friends and they all say that there is no such thing as a good relationship, or there's no such thing as true love, or there's no such thing as a soulmate. And I say, well, are they in long-term relationships? No. And, part of NLP is, modeling excellence and modeling success. Let's not get our advice on people who don't have a good relationship. If you want a good relationship, let's go to the people who have a good relationship and ask them how they do it. Because they do exist. Good relationships do exist, and everyone deserves to have one. So there's a way that everyone can have one.
Yeah. So you mentioned that most of your clients come to you for relationship coaching. So where do you start, or what are they coming to you for specifically?
Yeah, so they usually it's usually one person coming from the relationship, and they're struggling. They're thinking of breaking up. They're unhappy. They're feeling unheard and unseen. So they come to me, and it's often in the conversation, like in those early conversations, they're talking about their mood. They're not feeling happy or joy, or they feel stuck. They're people who come to work on themselves, and they're mentioning that they're having a lot of questions about their relationship. What I love is that you only need one person in the relationship to work on themselves, and that makes a difference. Some people say, you can only do relationship coaching if both parties are there. But I've found the opposite. I find if even just one person works on themselves, their relationship will improve.
Yeah, I've heard this great analogy that if you've brought a pot plant into your home and both parties are neglecting it, of course it's going to shrivel or die or get over sun or whatever the problem might be. But even just having one person starting to take care of that plant, it can be revived and survive. So it doesn't even need the two people who are living there, even just one person, and it can start to improve.
That's a brilliant analogy, and it's so true. And I see that. I've got testimonials of clients saying, that they were seriously thinking of divorce, and now all they did was work on themselves, and now they're not even thinking about divorce. They're actually quite happy with their partner, because a lot of it is our own perception of reality, and often our reactions are creating the outcomes. Yeah, and so if we can see things in a different way, see things from a different perspective, respond differently, and we get a different result. And that can make a huge impact on a relationship.
So you mentioned too that most of the clients are coming to actually work on themselves rather than work on their external relationship. And we understand like the 6 human needs are kind of fundamental to understanding yourself. So can you just talk to us a little bit about that and how you work with your clients?
Yes. So we all have 6 core needs. And this comes from the work of Tony Robbins, who based this work on Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. So there are 6 needs, and they're called core because every single day we need to meet these needs in some way. So the needs are, we have a need for significance. So we need to be important to at least one other person, hence the significant other. So we need in some way to feel valued. And then on the other side, they're like a sliding scale. On the other side, we need connection. So we need that feeling of loving and being loved, or even just connected. Some people, not everyone is seeking love. Some people are actually not quite comfortable with love. Yeah, they just want connection. And that's okay. That's like the first level of love. Then there's also, we all have a need for variety. So we all need a level of interest and differentiation in our lives. For some people, it's just watching a different TV show or having a different meal. For other people, it's constant travel, or they might also have different partners or, different jobs, that kind of thing. So there's also a big spectrum of how people express their needs. And then on the other side of that is the need for certainty. We all need some level of stability, certainty, security. And Abraham Maslow, one of the fundamental needs is stability and security. And then that can express them in staying in a long-term job, long-term relationship, just feeling, again, for some people, it's as long as they've, know where they're sleeping, what couch they're sleeping on that night, that's certainty. For other people, it's needing the home and the marriage and the family that they have for very long term. So it's that big spectrum again. And then we have the need for growth and contribution. So we all need to grow and evolve. And this is actually often when clients come to me, when they're realizing they're stuck because that unconscious primal need to evolve and grow, and they're not quite sure how to do it. Yeah. And this is often people come into a bit of conflict in their relationship as well. If one person is very happy in the certainty and the other person wants to, grow and evolve, there can be that difference in energy there. And then we all need to contribute in some way. Some people like to do a lot of charity work. Some people just contribute to their family or to the people they work with. But in some way, we need to feel that we're giving to others in some level or another. So they're the 6 core needs. And we all have 2 top drivers. So 2 of the 6 are our primary source of need, I guess. So, for example, I've got one client. It was really life-changing for her when she discovered her core needs and was able to talk about it with her partner, because she needed significance, was her number one core need. So you can imagine in a relationship, if the partner is unaware of that and is therefore just not giving them quite the attention that a person who needs significant needs. So then that can be just like, he takes me for granted, I feel invisible, he's not listening to me. Those kinds of comments can be an indication that a person needs significance. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to just know that, okay, this is what I need. And it was really lovely that she could talk to her partner about that. And he's like, oh, okay, I understand. And so just simple things like when she makes him breakfast, he makes the effort to say thank you. Something as small as that just makes her feel incredible.
Seen. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. So, just understanding your needs and your partner understanding your needs, and then the simple ways that you can meet those needs can make a huge difference in a relationship.
So with that, you mentioned that there's generally 2 that are at the top. So what happens when I've got my 2 and Nate's got his 2 and they're not the same 2?
Yes, and it's very common that they're not the same. So, for example, this couple, hers was significance, and I think her other one was connection, actually. And then his was variety and growth. So he wanted to go travel the world. And she was like, hang on a minute, what about me? What am I meant to be doing? And he's like, I want you to come with me. But she didn't feel like that she was being made to feel significant. So when they realized all of this, their needs, and then she found out, oh, my God, this is really important to him. It's nothing to do with, oh, he's going to leave me or anything. No, this is, he needs to do this. He needs to go and travel the world. This is actually a core need of his. And then when she understood that, he understood that she needed significance and connection. So she needed just, more cuddles, more time together, a bit more quality time, so a few more thank yous. Now she is traveling with him, and they are so excited that they're on this journey together. When before it was this massive source of conflict. And actually, one of the reasons that she first came to work with me, now it's just this source of joy in their relationship because they've been able to meet each other's needs. Both of them feel seen and heard in the relationship.
Yeah. Nathan and I have spent a little bit of time working with the Tony Robbins stuff. Like we've been to a couple of Unleash the Power Within events, and we've done Date with Destiny, and big fans, big Tony fans. But one of the breakthroughs for us around this 6 core human needs was not even just knowing them, but that we both knew them and we could both wrap language around what it was that was or wasn't going on. So using 2020 as an example, where we'd had these quite busy, exciting, travel all the time kind of lives. For me, my normal, I wouldn't probably go longer than 4 or 5 weeks without getting on a plane, whether or not that was just interstate or overseas travel. My life is just set up that way. And then all of a sudden it just stopped, and I was working at home all the time, and Nath was home all the time, and we weren't going out, and I wasn't seeing all these people, and I wasn't getting all this external stimulus. And I think if I had not understood that my core need for variety was not being met, I would have been in a much deeper hurt, because I felt like even just understanding what it was that was going on, and that it wasn't actually the plane, it was the new environment that was missing.
And it meant that we could do something about it too. It meant that we could have some variety at home, like order in and kind of have an immersive experience or something, like a date. So we had a French date, and we had a couple of other things like that too, where you do kind of still, or where you can bring that variety into.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And we did things like we cancelled our meal kit delivery service because that we just didn't need more sameness. I needed particularly more variety. So we started doing things like cooking gnocchi from scratch on a Tuesday night, like just to meet that need. And I think really even just understanding that language of what are the 6 needs, and am I getting enough of what my top 2 are, was a really big game changer for us.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as you say, it's like, okay, if I can't get it expressed in this way, but it must be expressed somehow. So how can I do that in a positive way? And that's exactly what you guys did with the dinner nights and that. So that's exactly the wonder of understanding the core needs.
Yeah. So how, if someone's hearing this for the first time and they're like, wow, this is an interesting concept, how do they go about figuring out what their core needs might be, their top 2?
Yes, good question. I'm actually thinking I do have like a quiz that people can fill out, and then with the whole interpretation as well. Yep. So I might just make that easily available on my website so that
awesome.
Can download and find it out straight away.
Take the quiz. We'll pop the link in the show notes for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So once you've done the quiz and you now know what your core needs are, what should you do with them?
It's that, you want your partner to have to it as well. And then you want to have the conversation, because it include the interpretation document. So then you can go and you see, okay, this is the kind of pros and cons, I guess, of having those 2 top needs, and let's have a conversation about it. And it's just that lovely awareness and that mutual understanding of, because, like if something isn't your need, it's easy to judge the other person. Well, why is that important? Because it's not important to you, which goes into, the NLP communication model of how we see the world. But then if you both are doing the test and you both get the interpretation, and just like this couple that I was working with, one side of them was that when they could understand, this is core. This is not trivial stuff. This is actually deep drivers of your behavior. And when you can understand and respect that, it can lead to a conversation where you can come to that mutual understanding.
You mentioned before about when that stage where someone's in a relationship might be seeking a lot of growth, and the other person's like really in a place of safety and security, and they're staying with everything known and certain. Nathan and I went through that as a couple. I think it was maybe like 4 years ago
Yeah, probably.
now. And I was in the middle of a massive growth trajectory in all areas of my life. It's like me deeply understanding myself and what I really needed and wanted. I was going through a whole heap of career growth and I was escalating very quickly and growing in responsibility. And I started to experience this fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm growing and I don't want to stop growing, and I really like where this is going. I really like where this is leading. I really like the person that I'm becoming. But then Nath was standing still. And he wasn't being exposed to these new ideas and new concepts, and he wasn't same place of employment and same people, all the same things. Whereas I was going through huge amounts of variety and huge amounts of growth, and it was really uncomfortable for us. We didn't know what we know now, so I'd love to hear your insights on what can we do when. If you could rewind and give us some coaching 4 years ago, what would have you said to a couple who are going through something like that?
Well, at that time, if you come to me at that time, to do the 6 core needs and to have that conversation again. And it's like, okay, Nathan, like this is important for Sammy. So we need to know. So do you know what your core needs are, Nathan?
Yeah. So we went to Tony Robbins' event soon after that time. It was probably 12 months later or something. And so when I first did 6 Human Needs, certainty and was definitely my standout top.
Yeah. And then I think it was
certainty.
love and connection.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, right. And then for you, Sammy, it's growth and variety. Yeah, right. So
and so you can see just even from the words that there's going to be a conflict.
There's big differences. And yet you've made it work, haven't you? So I'm more interested in asking you guys to make it work. What did you do then, to when Sammy was growing so much?
So I definitely went and stepped into some of that growth as well and like tried to understand myself better. And it probably was that same thing that you said your clients are coming to you for too. It was that I was actually going to work on myself and understand myself a bit better and why I was kind of standing still, because I knew that I didn't want to be standing still, but I didn't know why. Yeah. And so I think that's where that 6 Human Needs piece comes into it too, because once I actually understood that there's a need for that, but there's also a need for variety and other things too, then you can kind of manage some of those things. And you can also choose where you get your certainty from. So it's not as if I've changed my human needs, that certainty is not something I don't need anymore, but I can choose kind of which areas I'm certain in so that I can then allow other areas to be a bit more uncertain.
Yeah, I love that. And that's exactly right. It's like, okay, how can we manage this in a resourceful way, in a way that's positive for everyone? And it's, these needs, they can be expressed in different ways. Like you said, your need for travel, once that's taken away, you can find a new expression of your need for variety. And that's how it works. And that's same when, I had a client and she had a really strong need for variety. And so she was expressing it in a way that wasn't healthy for her. I was trying to remember the details now. Partying hard, big cocktails of alcohol, drugs and all that kind of thing. And she realised that this wasn't a sustainable lifestyle, but she had this need for variety. So we workshopped ways, how can you get this variety that's safe for you and good for you, but still satisfies you? And so she ended up finding it through her career and through her work. It's not how do you describe it? The need is like a little mannequin that you can dress in different ways, according to your situation. And find something.
I think there is a really important point that you just touched on there, though, is that we can actually service these needs in healthy and unhealthy ways. Yes. That it's not necessarily that we're always getting love and connection in a healthy way, but any of these 6 human needs, that there is unhealthy ways that we can be doing it too.
Exactly right. And so, when someone is expressing their needs in an unhealthy way, that's unhealthy for them and others around them, then it's like, okay, let's dig down here and what are your needs And then how can we shift that energy into a way that's better for you? So you still get your need for variety. We're not taking anything away. We're just transmuting it into something more positive for them.
Yeah, and I think that it's really great that you brought that up, Nath, because there's with those various core needs and identifying what they are, it's really then interesting to see, well, how am I currently getting that met? Because we had someone on the show who was talking about a stage of their life where they were incredibly significance driven. And as soon as they learned that about themselves, they were like, I really don't like the way that I'm getting that need met. And they talked about how they were showing up in their career and talking over people and, you know, pushing people out of the way for opportunities. And they were like, because they needed to feel important. They needed to feel like they were the most special, most significant person in the room. And they didn't know that. And then they were able to unpack, oh, okay, now I can see what need I was trying to get met, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's a wonderful level of self-awareness, isn't it? When someone can take a behavior that is unresourceful and unhealthy and actually have a good look at themselves and go, actually, no, I'm going to change this. It's wonderful when people are willing to do that.
Yeah. Hey, so we've heard you talk about this idea of having different maps of the world and different ways that we see things. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I love talking about this. It's the NLP communication model, which and I know it's a podcast, so you can't see it, but it's like one diagram that explains exactly how we take in reality and how we then act out according to what we've taken in. So and this has been backed by tons of neuroscience now as well, so it's all proven that in reality, so out there, outside of us, is 2 million plus bits per second of information coming at you every single second. And there's 2 million bits of information coming at Nathan, 2 million bits of information coming at Sammy, 2 million bits of information coming at me, all simultaneously. And yet that is way too much information for us to process. And so as all this information is coming at us, so imagine like right now, if you were aware of all the little, the little bugs and things that are running around in the air, and if you could hear the thoughts of the people who live next door to you, or if you could see your plants growing, or if you could feel your hair growing or your nails growing, there's just this overload of information.
If you could feel your clothing on your skin.
Yeah, that's it. If you're conscious of
underneath your bum.
That's it. If you're conscious of it every moment of every day, you'd just be an overload of information. So for us to be able to function, we have to filter a whole heap of information out. So we take the world in through our senses, our 5 senses. So that is already filter number 1. And our senses are limited. Yes. So we all wear glasses, but even if we had 20/20 vision, that's still limited. It's still not perfect vision. And, hearing is limited. All our senses are limited. So the 2 million bits gets reduced just coming in to us. And then in our mind, our mind has to filter the information as well. And it has to delete information, distort information, and generalize information. And it's based on things like, your memories. You might enter a room and it has a really positive memory, and then somebody else might walk into that same room and it triggers a negative memory, which then therefore makes them feel totally different about that space. Decisions you've made, how many people have made decisions of I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, I don't deserve a good relationship, or all marriages fail, I only ever saw my parents fight and divorce, and therefore that's how my life is going to be as well. And therefore we've deleted all the information that says the opposite. Like the people, like I said at the beginning, I have a lot of people say, there's no such thing as a soulmate, there's no such thing as happy ever after,
Only in the movies.
Yeah, exactly. It's make-believe, right? Because they've deleted all the information to the contrary because it doesn't fit with their beliefs and the decisions that they've made.
We've had people say that to us before, like, is it really as good as what you make out? Like, they just actually can't fathom that our relationship is actually really awesome.
Yes.
And that the way that we show up on the outside is actually what's going on the inside.
Yes.
There's very little that, And they just like, there must be some sort of trick. There must be some sort of performance. There must be
it.
And that's, their belief as well that what we've got, they can't have for some other reason.
Yeah, that's it. They've had to delete all the reality that says that it is real and they can have it, based on their life experience and their decisions and their memories and their map, what we call the map of the world, and their values and beliefs, like, we have people believe that no one can have a good relationship. Everybody gets divorced. I've had friends say, all men cheat, or all men visit prostitutes. I had a friend who said that to me. I'm like, that's impossible.
That's interesting.
There's not enough prostitutes in the world to cater for every single man. Like, let's think about that for a minute. That is impossible. But this is her beliefs. And so therefore, this reflects the relationships that she attracts. And so we take in the world. So there's reality out there, and we have this heavily filtered version of reality. And we can only, of the 2 million plus bits, some people say it's 2 million, some people say it's 11 million bits per second. I actually think
it's a lot of bits.
It's a lot of bits. I actually think when you go into quantum, that it's unlimited, because there's all these other dimensions we can't even see but are right there. So we're not even, we can't even factor that in. So then we can only take in 134 bits of information per second.
Which is like 0.000000. I don't know, I'm not very good at math, but a lot of decimal points.
It's exactly. And so can you imagine the miscommunication that goes on? It's like if you got a book that has 2 million pages in it, and I've got one page and I'm saying, this is reality. And you've got another page and you're like, no, this is reality. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is reality. Both are correct. Both are reality. And yet people can't see that because they've deleted so much out. All they see is their one page and they think that's it. And that's how there's so much conflict in the world. Because say like you take someone like Donald Trump. There's so many people who hate him, and there's so many people who love him. And what is the truth? They're both right. And there's also so much more to him that we don't even know. Like his wives would see him totally differently. His children see him differently. His staff see him differently. His doctor would see him differently. He would see himself differently. And they would all disagree. And yet, in actual fact, they're all right because they're all got tiny bits of information of what is the absolute reality. And so, you see couples argue, she wants me to be this way and she's like this and she's like that and he's like this and he's like that. And then, you have them in the room together. No, I'm not. I never said that. That's not true. And it's because...
I don't know where you get this from.
And it's because one person is showing up in their reality, the other person's showing up in their reality, and they're interpreting through their own map of the world of what the other person is saying. And that's why, like someone could say to them, say the example I gave before of my client who her partner wanted to travel the world. And initially she took it as, he doesn't love me. You don't love me. You're going to take off. And he's like, I'm not. He's like, no, I want you to come with me. Oh, if you put me first, you wouldn't even be thinking of doing this, But it's like, no, this is important, And it's like we're constantly misunderstanding people because we're not actually getting what they say. We're just getting a filtered version of what we think they're saying.
So the big question, can you change it?
Yes, you can. And
Good question, isn't it? Of course you can. Be the change.
Yeah, and by doing things like understanding core needs and understanding, some people are very visual and some people are very auditory. Some people are very kinesthetic. So I've got a friend, she said to me, my husband, she's this stunning woman, just absolutely gorgeous. And she's like, my husband just doesn't see me. I'm invisible. In my head, I'm going, how's that possible? But, and then I asked her, I said, what does he do for a living? She said, he's a musician.
Okay.
He's auditory.
Auditory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, the very first thing he said to me was, come and sit down. I just want to hear your voice.
Oh, wow.
So, he did see her through his ears.
Yeah. He was receiving her.
He was receiving her through his ears, but she needed to be seen because she was visual, And so just by understanding all these differences, way we communicate, our core needs, our personality styles, and just looking at the way, understanding how that person was brought up too. If someone had only saw a really negative family life, then they need a little bit of compassion there and to be shown that, no, there are other ways. It doesn't have to be that way. We can live differently. In the quantum realm, there is unlimited possibility, not just one way to have a relationship. It's unlimited ways of having a relationship.
Yeah, I love that. So we've talked a little bit about couples experiencing conflict because of the way that they're communicating and their maps of the world. Is conflict inherently bad, or should it not exist in a relationship? Or is there a great way to do it? Tell us.
Is it inherently bad? What a great question. It isn't inherently bad, actually, because often it can lead, if people are willing to stand by each other and communicate their way through it, it can lead to much deeper understanding and connection. And often it's that conflict. It's like the butterfly. Yeah, it has to struggle to get out of the cocoon to become the beautiful butterfly. And if you try and help it by cutting the cocoon, you kill the butterfly. So the struggle is needed. And I think as we grow and evolve, we need that conflict as we're pushing through to the next level of our evolution. And it's a sign that changes are happening and change is inevitable. It's deeper conversations are needed to bring people back together again. So it's not a bad thing. You certainly don't want tons and tons of unresolved conflict. Yeah, that's not nice. We don't want to live in that kind of relationship. But, conflict that leads to deeper communication and growth is a positive thing.
So how can we, resolve conflict in a healthy and happy way?
Definitely communication. And I think, one of my core, what I say to every client is all you need to do is work on yourself. If a couple is struggling, go get help, whether together or independently. If they can't work their way through the conflict, go and get outside help. So someone with a fresh perspective, with a different map of the world, with different reality and different tools to help them. I've got a client at the moment, again, working on his relationship, on his marriage. He's really, actually I've got two, both males, both kind of in their late 40s, and they're, Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah. And they've actually lost their power, lost their masculinity, actually, trying to please their partner. And then they're bitter and resentful about it. Yeah. And so I had this particular client and he was telling me, and my wife, I can't do this because she needs me for that. And I can't do this because she wants this. And I said, it's not about her at all. It's about you. And you've just got to work on yourself and get a new perspective of your own power, get yourself back again. And all of that communication troubles, it's all going to change. It's like whenever there's an issue, we need to level up. If it's only one person coming to see the coach or therapist, then let's level you up. Let's get you fit and strong for the next level of your relationship. And if it's both parties, then that's fantastic. But it really doesn't even need to be both, as I said earlier. But it really is. It's like whenever there's trouble and it's not resolving, it's a sign that you need more tools, more resources, more help to get to the next level. And I think a lot of people maybe don't realize that the help is out there.
Yeah.
Because if they have beliefs that, all relationships are bad, they're not going to think that they can go get help and make things better.
Yeah.
It's having that hearing your podcasts and hearing that, oh, wow, there are people out there who do have good relationships and there's tools that I can learn. And that can be life-changing.
Sonya, there's so many things that you touched on there that I just thought I want to jump on all of them. We called the show Date Forever with the intention that it's about actively dating yourself and your chosen person forever, because it really is like one of the most profoundly simple paradigms to get your head around is that you actually can't control anybody else and what they do, what they say, how they react, but you've only got influence over yourself. You've got control and command over you and how you respond and how you react and how you receive things. So I love that you've, really advocated for like, just work on you. And I love that. But the other thing that I wanted to say was that's exactly why we wanted to launch this show is we had the realization that if people have grown up in environments where they haven't necessarily seen a healthy, happy, thriving relationship modeled to them, and then they've gone out into the world and they've met somebody and they feel like they want to do life with this person forever, but they've never seen how to do that successfully. Where do you learn that? I don't know. So we just wanted to create a space where we could have conversations about this and also just rip away some of the stigma about seeking help. Like if you're having trouble with anything in life, health, well-being, money, your car, your wardrobe, an appliance in your house, you don't hesitate to call in the expert to go, I don't know how to fix this. But for some reason, when it comes to relationships, we get a bit embarrassed about it.
Yes. Yeah, we feel a bit at a loss at what to do. Like there's nowhere to turn. Some people feel like, oh, I'm the only one. No one will understand and things like that. But that's not true. It's really important to speak to someone about it. And
going back to your prostitute analogy, it can't be true because there are lots of relationship therapists. So there wouldn't be any if nobody else was in the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Yes.
Hey, Sonya, this has been such an amazing chat. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been wonderful.
A lot of what we've talked about today has been about being the change and taking accountability for what you have influence over in your own life, your own relationship, and, who you are. But Nathan and I also really advocate for being the change that we want to see in the world. So to say thank you for joining us today, we've provided a student in Indonesia with a week of classroom education. Generally, this project, a lot of the students that they support are girls, which has an incredible ripple effect. So it's looked after by Friends of National Parks Foundation, and we've made that possible via our partnership with Buy One, Give One. So thank you so much for making that possible.
Yeah, thank you. That's wonderful.
Oh, incredible.
Wow.
If you'll learn a little bit more about what you do, how should they do that?
Yes, they can head to my website, centerforlifetherapies.com. And I'm happy to give a free strategy session away for anybody who wants me to work with them for 45 minutes for free to resolve their number one relationship issue. Then there's that link, which I think you've got it there.
Discovery session with sonya.as.me/free session, but we will put that in the show notes so you can
awesome. A bit hard to remember. Yeah. Yes.
And go take the quiz on Sonya's website too.
Yes, I will get that up there ASAP because it's a great place to start in getting to know yourself and your partner.
Hey, so Sonya, before we wrap up, what is your tweet length number one top tip for keeping a relationship filled up?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I really think work on yourself and work on the relationship. Always have that hope that things can be better and better, that relationships can keep getting better. That should be everyone's belief.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Love you guys. You're awesome.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.